By the end of this video, we'll have built a WhatsApp assistant so smart it will answer customer questions. And it will do it instantly. It will pull from our company's knowledge base and book appointments automatically, all while we sleep. And you'll see the entire thing happen step by step in real time. In a few minutes, we're going to connect this WhatsApp to an AI brain. And by the end, it will be booking appointments, answering complex questions, and doing all it needs to close sales without me ever touching my phone. Most people think WhatsApp is just for chatting, but by the end of this video, you'll see it transform into the smartest employee we've ever had. One that works 24/7, knows our entire business, and never forgets a single detail. So let me just show you what we're going to be building. On the front end here, we're going to use a tool called Unipile to connect with WhatsApp. So this will be what the user will see when they interact or start a conversation with our chatbot. And I use Unipile because it's relatively easy to get up and running with it, as you'll see in a second. Then the user will be able to ask us questions. So this is sort of a customer support sort of chatbot where the user can ask questions about any queries that they have. And if it's about customer support, or rather, I think, yeah, let's put this here. So Unipile and WhatsApp will pass a message to our, let's say, AI agent right here. So this guy then will need to decide how to proceed, because there are two possible solutions or two possible routes, I guess. There's the customer support where we need knowledge. So this is what will happen in this case. We need to get access to that knowledge somewhere, and I'll show you where we'll get it in a second. Or we will book appointment. So this is the ultimate aim of what we want to get the person on WhatsApp to do. And the AI agent will be responsible to steer the conversation to book the appointment, but at the same time, we also want to be helpful to the person. So we want to be able to answer the customer support. However, long term, or in the long term of the conversation, we want to book appointments. Now, in terms of tools, here we're going to be using NA10. So we're going to create an agent right here in NA10. Here, we're going to be using a tool called Pinecone. So this will allow us to have a knowledge base, a vector database with our knowledge. And here, for booking appointments, we're going to be using a tool called cal.com, which it's my first time using through their API. So I did some research before when it comes to their API documentation, and I'll share that with you in a second. Once we get the information, essentially what we're going to do is formulate a response that we then send back like so to WhatsApp, right? So that is what we're doing right here. So essentially the user sends us a message on WhatsApp, and just to be, for the sake of symmetry, this is the tool we're using here. So the user will send us a message on our WhatsApp, and I'll use Unipile so that I won't have to go to the official WhatsApp API. Then this message will go into NA10 right here. It will converse with our AI agent that will decide whether it's a customer support ticket or a booking appointment situation. If it's customer support, we reference Pinecone and the information we have in there. If it's booking appointment, we reference cal.com. So we'll be able to do essentially two things. So with cal.com, we want to, number one, check availability and then make booking. So that's the plan with cal.com. From there, we formulate a response, obviously whether it's through Pinecone or through cal.com. And finally, we pass that back to Unipile so that we send it back to WhatsApp and the user can see that message, whether it's the support answer or the appointment confirmation or the appointment unavailability for all intents and purposes, because if this says the time the user requested is not available, then we'll have to go back to the user and say that's not available. How about another time? So this is what we are building today. Again, we need a few tools, so let me just show you those. So first, let me log into Unipile. So once you log into Unipile, this is what you will see. First, you will have your accounts where you will connect your WhatsApp, and this is ideal if you want to use your own personal WhatsApp number. So you'll scan a QR code, which I'm not going to show in this video for the sake of privacy. And you will then see your WhatsApp number connected right here. You'll have the webhook section where you can create a webhook, which we'll have to do in a second, so that this is listening for incoming events from WhatsApp. We'll have the access tokens. So this is how we'll be able to send messages to WhatsApp on the backend right here. So this is how we'll return the message that we formulate back to WhatsApp through that access token. Where are we? Did I just close? Oh, we're here. Obviously, settings, subscriptions. What is important here is the documentation section as well, specifically this API reference. Because here you have all the information you will need in terms of messaging in our case. So we want to send a message in as chat. This is what we are interested in. So let's just get to building. Over here, I just have a cal.com test, I would say, that I was playing around with right here, just to avoid some time going back and forth on this video. But it is pretty straightforward when it comes to creating a booking, for example, to getting all the bookings. These are essentially the two endpoints that I was playing with: get all bookings and create a booking. And I'll share these in the description below this video, so check those out if you would like. In our case, what we're doing is, first of all, we're going to create a webhook so that we'll be able to get the information when someone sends us a message on WhatsApp. Speaking of that, let me just open up my WhatsApp. And what I'm going to do is just create a new WhatsApp chat for this, or WhatsApp group for this specific video. So on second thoughts, I just use a group I had before, and I'm going to just use this for the purpose of this video. I just renamed it cal.com WhatsApp video, and I can send messages. It's just me in here, but obviously this could be your WhatsApp number that anyone can send messages to. So you could, just as a side note, either have anyone and everyone send you messages, and just you will be able to run them through this workflow, or I'll also show you how to filter specific messages so you're not dealing, or you're not running the automation on all the messages incoming on all your WhatsApp chats. So that's also a key distinction to make. In this case, what I'm going to do is I have my webhook production URL. So I'll copy this. I'm going to go back to Unipile. I'm going to go to webhooks, set up a webhook, messaging in my case, give it a name, whatever that might be. I'm going to say on new message. And I'm going to paste in that webhook URL right there. So now this is going to send all messages on all accounts connected here via a post request to this webhook URL. So that should be great. So let's just test this out. If I go to NA10 and I execute this workflow, or rather, I turn the workflow on and go to executions, technically, if I just type in this is a new message, I should be able to get an execution right here, as you saw, coming right in immediately. And here we should get, yep, this is a new message, as you can see right here. I got the subject, which is the name of the group, the name of the person, if it was a real life situation, and this is a new message. We also get a key important item here, which is this chat ID, which we'll need to use later when we send the message back to the user. So for now, I'm going to copy this to the editor. I'm going to use as set, and let's just grab the important information so it's handy. So we have the chat ID, we have the subject, which is the person, and we have the message. I'll just rename these. So we have chat ID, we have subject, we have message, and execute this. So now we have pretty much anything we need to keep running with the automation. So far, we have built sort of this part right here. So now let's deal with this guy right here. We'll go back to NA10, let's have an AI agent. We'll give it a chat model. So let's give it OpenAI. Do we need to give it memory? Yeah, why not? I think that makes sense. Let's give it a memory of 10. And for this, for the chat ID, for the memory, let's use the chat ID. So this will be persistent, and this will remember the previous interactions it had with that specific user. And over here, I'm going to give it a system message. So let's just, did I not save that? So chat ID. Oh no, sorry, my bad. Connect your chat, yeah, define below, great. So this will be the user message, And here, let's add the system message. So I'm going to say your helpful assistant that takes in a user message and decides whether it's a customer support request. And if so, you pass this along to the right channel. If it is not, then our ultimate aim is to get the person sending a message to book a time to speak to our representative. In this case, you need to decide whether the user has given you a time and the date to book a call. And if he has, you... Actually, let me think about this. So probably, yeah, I think let's get this guy to just decide whether it's a user support request or it's a request for booking an appointment. Cool. So your helpful assistant takes in a user message and decides whether it's a customer support request or a request to book a time to speak to one of our reps. Let's say I'll put the answer in this format. Put the answer in this JSON format. So we just want to be able to decide whether the output or whether the response is customer support or book a time. Let's just use those two. I'm going to also add not a tool here. Let's go to AI agent. Let's require specific output. Let's connect an output parser. And let's say that the output needs to be in this specific format. So let's try and see what we have so far. If I go back to WhatsApp and I say, can I get some help with my issue with my computer? Let's run that. We should get a message coming in here. Cool. And our guy said customer support. So this is working as expected. So now copy to editor, let's jump in and let's have an if node. So we're going to say if the response is customer support, we do one thing, right? But, or rather, instead of if, let's use a switch node in case in the future we want to add multiple more options. So if it is customer support, we go down one route. If it is book a time, we go down the second route. So now we get those routes created there. So in this case, it would go down the customer support. In this case, we want to connect to Pinecone. So here, I have a Pinecone account. It's a free account, and I have a database with different indexes. Essentially, the index is a combined set of knowledge. So here, I'm just going to call this my WhatsApp YouTube call. I'm going to choose my configuration. So I'm going to go with text embedding tree small. I believe dimensions 512. That's great. That's pretty much all I need to do. So this is called WhatsApp YouTube call. So if I go back to NA10, I'll be able to have another. Can I do Pinecone get documents? I think I can do this directly like so. Yeah. I'm going to choose my list. So here I've already connected my Pinecone account, because if not, you just need to grab an API key from Pinecone and connect it by creating a new credential here. And you just fill in your API key right there. In my case, I'm going to choose that index that we just created. Prompt, let's just say you retrieve information related to customer support. That's pretty much it. And then we just need to choose the same embedding model. So before we chose the OpenAI or the text embedding tree small. So we just need to ensure that this is the same right there. Here, under dimensions, I believe now we need to choose 512. If we don't, we get an error. So I'll just choose 512 right there. And this should pretty much give us a response that would allow us to get information about the customer request. However, since we're using this Pinecone, we also need to insert information. So let's do a quick side note right here. So here I'm going to add a trigger. I'm going to use a set. And I'm going to say, let's add customer support information. And this is a very quick, easy, dirty way to get information into Pinecone. So here I'm just going to say, I don't know, let's actually go to Claude and let's just come up with some information about our company. Please create me 3 paragraphs about our fictitious company dealing with general information about the company. Let's say that we are a computer company that provides parts for customers. Cool. 2018. Yep, sounds good. We get Intel, AMD, NVIDIA cores here. Yep, great. Copy. Let's go here. Just paste this in here. Execute. So we get the information right here. And now let's insert this into Pinecone. So I go to Pinecone. I'm going to add documents to a vector store. Again, same connection established. I'm going to choose my WhatsApp YouTube call. I'm going to, if I want, have some other options here, which I don't need. Same thing as before, choose the embeddings. I'm going to leave it as embedding tree small, dimensions 512. And here I just need to choose the document I want to feed it. In our case, this is coming from the set fields. So let's use, not that one, let's use the default data loader. And I'm going to leave it as JSON. I'm going to load specific data, and I'm going to load that customer support information. If you want, you can also add metadata, which in many cases might make sense. So here you can say, I don't know, here this would be type, and this would be company info. So then if you wanted to retrieve specific information, that would make it easier. So now if I execute this, this should insert that company information into 2 chunks in Pinecone. So if I go here and refresh, as you can see, I got those 2 chunks right here, which also means that now if someone asks a question right here, they would be able to get information. Now, going back to what we have here, generally when we have a webhook, we send a webhook response. However, with this Unipile, that is not possible because once we send a message from WhatsApp, this webhook is no longer listening for a response. So in order to send a response, so to speak, back to WhatsApp, we need to make an HTTP request. And this is where the access token that I mentioned at the beginning comes in. So if I go to HTTP request, this will be send message back to WhatsApp. And for that to happen, let's go to the API documentation of Unipile. So here, send message in chat, we need a few things. We need the header information right here. We need a subdomain and the port. We need a chat ID. And we also need the text that we're going to send. This is the response we are sending. So let's get the subdomain and the port. If I go back to my dashboard, the subdomain in this case is 13 and the port is 14372. 14372. So port 14372 and subdomain I believe was 13. Cool. Now we need the chat ID. So this, just leave it empty because this will be, as you can see here, we need to replace it right here. And that is why in WhatsApp over here, we grabbed that chat ID so that we'll be able to dynamically insert it when we make the request to send information to WhatsApp. What we are missing is the actual access token. So here I'll generate a token, give it a name, give it the scopes. So we'll need to use this in order to send information back to WhatsApp, or to send information to WhatsApp, I guess. So I'll replace that header right there, and now we have the curl request right here. We can also try it. So if I wanted, I could choose, or I could put in my chat ID right here, and then I could try it. But let's do it directly in N8. I'm going to copy this, go back to my workflow, I'm going to import my curl, and I just need to replace that ID, or that chat ID right there. If we flip to expression, I can put in my double curly brackets. I can put in my $, and then choose my edit fields. And in edit fields, if I do .item.json, I believe it was chat_ID, that should replace that once this is up and running. But let me confirm it was chat_ID. Yep. So that should be it, but we'll test it out in a second. So yeah, let's test this out and see what happens. So if I say, tell me about when you started the company. Let's see if we get anything back at all. Okay, we didn't get anything back at all, which isn't a good thing. So let's go back here, we get an error. So let's just fix this. Okay, so we got a problem in the last step where it's saying, okay, connection cannot be established, incorrect host value. Okay, cool. Let's see. So here we have 13.unipile.com 14372. So let's confirm 13 and 14372 first. API 13.unipile.com 14372. So I don't see an issue there. Is it like this? 13.unipile.com? Looks a bit weird. Yeah, I guess it is 13.unipile.com. Yep. Okay, that's good. Request is post. Cool. We have the API key, which is M1, which is fine and ends with an equals. I mean, here it's a get, but yeah, here it's a post, so that's fine. Cool. Form data. This is the response we're sending. I mean, I don't see a problem with that. So let's dive deeper into that. Let's debug in the editor. Let's unpin this. Let's duplicate this and let's see if we can figure this out. So here, the chat ID should be this, right? I don't know why. Yeah, I didn't check. Yeah, NV. I mean, that looks fine. I'll double check that is the actual ID, chat ID slash messages. I mean, looks fine though. So here, let's just put this in here. If we execute, yep, that's an error. So what am I doing wrong? Let's just go to Unipile and let's try this in their playground. If I put in the chat ID there and hit try it, we're not getting anything back here either. So API 13.unipile.com 14372 14372 13. Chat ID is there. This is taking forever, which isn't a good sign here. Chat ID. Am I using the wrong chat ID? Possibly. If I go back to NA10. Let's have a look at WhatsApp or the webhook information. Body account. I mean, this is the chat ID. So yeah. Not the provider chat ID. No. Account ID. No. I mean, no, it should be that minus and ends in EG. Yeah, weird. Let me double check this. So the token is M1 and finishes in 4 equals. M1 4 equals, so that's fine as well. M1 4 equals 13.14272. That's the chat ID. That's post. Interesting. No, same issue. Okay, let me find the answer to that. I'll look at that previous message I was sending with Unipile and see what is not working, and I'll come back to this. Okay, so here I just grabbed a node from another workflow that was working yesterday, and I just want to check it. Yeah, I see the issue immediately. And here we have API 13.unipile.com, whereas what I'm trying to send is 13.unipile.com, which is what I got from this right here. And I think that was my mistake because, yeah. So that should not just be the number, it should be API 13. Yeah, that is the whole issue right there. So here we need to say API 13.unipile.com. which is, I guess, yeah, subdomain rather than just the number, which is my bad. So let's try this once more. Let's remove the message doc. Let's try sending a message here to WhatsApp. So this is the response we're sending. So if I execute this, yeah, no problem there. And now we're getting that there. Awesome. So here, let's just fix API 13. Let's delete these two. Let's save this and let's run this once more. So tell me about when you started the company and let's see what happens next. All right, we got some. Okay, interesting. So let's go back to executions. Yeah, this is going to be an issue. And I'll tell you what happened right there. So this is now an infinite loop, which is funny. Stop. Yeah, I forgot about this. This is always, it always gets me. I don't know if I can just stop this. What if I just revoke this and just delete this? And that should eventually stop it. Because if not, it would have gone forever right here. But this should. Yeah, as you can see here, we ran into a big issue. So I'll explain what happened here in a second. Okay, I think that stopped it. Yeah, not able to process. Good. So essentially what happened that I had forgotten about is when we send a message to WhatsApp, right? Any message that comes in from WhatsApp, because we have the webhook right here, is going to trigger the automation. So essentially, we ran through this. We send a message back to WhatsApp, which triggered the webhook. Process right here, which triggered the message to send to WhatsApp, which triggered the webhook. So this created a sort of infinite loop that would have continued until something crashed. So what I just did is I deleted the webhook and I deleted the access token just to ensure that that literally stopped, because then it was no longer able to process the request, which is the error that I got right here confirming that. So don't be like me and think about that before you do that. So just to learn from that, if we open up one of the successful flows, let's look at the information here. And here, what we need is essentially something that defines whether it's a user-generated message. So if whether someone texted us here, and as you can see, this would have kept going forever. So we need to define whether this is someone that texted us like a real user message or whether we're sending a response back. And the way to do it is that when we send a message here, as you can see, we get, in this case, we sent 2 items. So this is another issue here. So Pinecone returned 2 pieces of data, right? What we want to do is essentially combine that into one. Yeah, so we'll use, here we also need to use an AI agent that will have access to Pinecone as a tool, rather than this that allows us to get 2 pieces of data and then send 2. So we want to sort of get a better answer to send to WhatsApp. And here, we also need to update this because we were just sending hard-coded data. So quite a bit of work to do right here, which is fine. So let's just do and start step by step. Let's start first by fixing the repeated loop. So here we get a message ID. So let's say that this is LV or L_1. What we need to do is check that the webhook message we get right here, when it comes to the message ID, that is not the same as the message that, or the ID of the message we get right here. So we need a way to store this information somewhere. And then if it matches, we just literally do nothing. If it's different, then we proceed. So that will make sense in a second. So here, let's just, let me think, what's the best way to run this once? I mean, the best way would be to let's use this test URL instead. So you'll see what I mean. And then we'll be able to stop it manually. Cool. So I'm going to go back to Just right here, I'm going to go to webhooks. I'm going to set up a new webhook, messaging, give it a name. On a new message, all accounts, that's fine. Paste this in here. And now this is listening once more. Let's generate a new token. Generate. Copy this, go back to NA10. Replace the token here. And now, if I execute this, this is now listening for a test call this time. So if I go to WhatsApp and type in test or whatever, type something in, give me help. This should run once. And obviously here we're still getting the 2 items. So let's also fix this in the meantime. So here, I'm going to replace this with an AI agent. Let's connect OpenAI to it. Let's connect Pinecone as a tool rather than its own node. Choose the WhatsApp YouTube. For the description, let's just copy what we have here. So that's the description. And now we can remove this guy. So like this, it will be OpenAI's responsibility to get the retrieved information. Let's use the same embedding. Dimensions 512. So this should now only return 1 item to send back to WhatsApp. Speaking of that, here we'll need to send or to replace, this is the response we're sending. So let's just test this and then we update that hard-coded value so that it is a variable value. So let's do this, give me help. And now, okay, we didn't give it a cool. System message defined below. So let's just say the message is this. You are a helpful assistant that uses your Pinecone tool in order to retrieve information from a database and then answer the user based on the message that he has asked. Okay, let's try this. Let's save it. Let's unhook that one more time. Run it. Give me help. Yeah, maybe we should have used the when was your company created or something. So here, how can I assist you? Okay, let's use a proper message. So let's say, when was the company created? Just so we see if we're getting the right information from Pinecone. Cool, was founded in 2018. So we're getting that. So now we can connect that and we replace that hard-coded value right here. So instead of this is the response we're sending, we just drag and drop that output. So now, if we were to execute this once, we should get an answer here. Cool. So we got the answer there. Now, in our case, we want that this, obviously we don't want to run it once each time. So we want to switch back to that live URL, right? We want to change back to the production URL. So what I was saying here is that here we get the message ID, which is this MUD whatever. If we were to run this once more, we would get that same message ID right here. So here we want to check whether the message ID matches the message ID from here. And what we need to do is have some way, obviously this is not going to be connecting back, right? Because this will get triggered and then it will stop right here. So we need to some way to store that message ID somewhere. So what I'm going to do is just have an Airtable database. So let's just call, let's just call this the YouTube call automation. I'm going to delete this and let's just have the message ID as the name there and the name there. And we're also going to be using this Airtable in a second as well. So for now, we'll store the message ID here, and then when a new message comes in from here, we'll just cross-reference and see if anything is found in this message ID. So here, I'm just going to use Airtable. And to be fair, I mean, this tool, the Airtable tool, and Pinecone can also be added as a tool to the agent if you wanted to. Airtable, I'm going to create a record. I'm going to choose my credential. I'm going to choose my Airtable name. I'm going to choose the table, and I'm just going to insert the message ID right there. So now, if we run this once more, when was the company created? We should get a message back right here. Plus we get the message ID stored in our table. So here we got that. Great. So now at the beginning, when we get the webhook information, let's do an Airtable search in our database. In our table, we're going to search by the message ID, and we're going to say, see if you can find the message ID that matches any of the message IDs in our table. So here, let's find that message ID, which is this right here. And then what I'm going to say is settings always output data, because what I want is that if this is empty, then we proceed, right? So we'll need to set a condition there. So let's just test this. Let's execute the step. Unknown. Yep. I mean, let's just hard code this for now. So copy this. I'm going to put in something else instead. And this should give us unknown field name. Oh yeah, I need to put that in quotes. So here we got nothing because obviously there's no information that matches that. But if we had that message ID right there, we should get some information. So here I just want to say, let's say we find nothing. So if that is true, we want to keep going. So actually it might be easier to just, think about it. Let's search for this. And let's say that if ID does not exist, that means we want to keep going, right? Because it's a new message. It's a new message. Let me think about this. So if ID does not exist, it means that it's a user message. So we want to keep going. Great. If the ID exists, I mean, we can do nothing. So we can leave this as empty, or we can just delete the message ID from there. I mean, this will always be different, so it doesn't really matter, but let's just test it like this. So technically, I believe if I were to turn this on, let's test it once and then I'll turn on the production URL so we can test this. So let's execute this. Let's go back here. I'm going to send a message here. When was the company created? And here, okay, this, let's see. So this found the, oh yeah, because I think I hard coded it now. Yep. So this should be the message ID right here. Try again, execute. When was the company created? And I'm expecting that this will keep going through. Okay, we have a problem. So here we're saying input values has 3 keys. You must specify an input key or pass only one as an input. Okay, so a problem with the memory here. Yep, we need to update the chat ID now. So this is now coming from this. Okay, so this is null because we need to get the information. Now it's not in a previous node. So now it's in the webhook .body or rather .item.json .body.chat ID. So we just need to update that. Since we added this, obviously the mapping needed to be updated. So if we go back here, when was the company created? Cool, going through. And we got the message. Cool. So now I believe that obviously this added the second one. So I think we can try the possible infinite loop once more. So let's just update webhook URL. If I go back to Unipile, let me see if I can I just update? No, I can't. I need to create a new one, which is fine. So let's double check this. Let's grab the webhook production URL. Create a new one, set up a webhook, messaging, message read, continue, paste, and that is created. I don't know if this will interfere if we have to, so let's test it out. I don't think it would. I don't think it should. Yeah, that is on now. One thing I also need to do, since this is now on, is I only want to proceed if I get a message from my specific channel ID. So here we get not just the chat ID, but we also get the subject, right? The call.com. I mean, I can also use, I guess, I don't know if there's a channel ID. I think there is, but here I only want to proceed if the subject matches this right here, because I don't want to proceed when I get messages from other people on my WhatsApp. So that's also an important filter. So here, let's just add a filter. And let's say that the subject must match that call.com WA video, which is the name of our WhatsApp conversation, which in my case, it is specific to just this one. If you didn't care and wanted to respond to everyone, then you could do so as well. So in this case, let's just test this out. So let's execute this workflow. I'm going to send a message to my WhatsApp from another, or to my webhook from another conversation I have here. And what I'm hoping is that this will stop in its tracks, sort of. So let's see. 909, yep. Cool. So this, as you can see, stopped with the filter. It didn't proceed because the name did not match the WA call.com WA video, because here it should have been whatever this was called, N810 test, which it is right here. So that seems to be working well. So now let's just test this and hopefully we don't get that infinite loop as we did before. So now if I say, when was the company created? Let's see what happens. Okay. And I think it just stopped, which is perfect. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be that infinite loop, because if we look at the second, at the last execution, yep, awesome. It just went, I guess, down the false route. Yep, false branch, awesome. Because it's matched that message ID, which is Q1S, which should be one of our things in our table. If I refresh, yeah, that is Q1S, awesome. So now we will not get that infinite loop happening. So essentially, so far, we've created the upper route, which is where we provide customer messages, like response to the user based on their question. However, what I want is, okay, here we also need to check what is happening, because for some reason, potentially because this was pinned, I guess. Oh yeah, this is just referring to this specific execution, so that's fine. So what we want is also to focus this guy on booking a time as well. So just like we have this guy that directs people between upper route or lower route, this guy should be not only retrieving the information, but helping people be guided towards booking an appointment time. So here we're saying you're a helpful assistant that uses your Pinecone tool and then answer the user based on the message that he has asked. Great. Your second job is to always direct the conversation towards booking an appointment time. And yeah, I think that makes sense. So if we go down this route, you know what would be cool though? I know these. I've never tried that. I think this would make sense if these guys shared memories so that this guy knows. I mean, this guy is just deciding stuff, right? So technically, he doesn't even need a memory. It is more this guy that needs a memory to have a like an account of the conversation. So I think that makes sense. Yeah. And for the memory, I mean, this should be already defined right here. So I think that should make sense. So your second job is to always direct the conversation towards booking an appointment time. Be subtle about it. No hard sells. Okay, let's try that out. And so this is the get info from database. And then we have the book a time route, which now let's test that out. So here it will say, when was the company created? Let's see what we get now with the addition of the, your second job is to get people to book a time. Okay, is something happening here? Executions, no, we got an error. Cool. So I think it's something about the simple memory. Okay. Memory. Here it's saying key parameter is empty. So let's see what this is all about. Debug an editor. JSON.chat ID. Yep. So the chat ID should come from the edit node. Again, since we made that change at the beginning. So we need to go to webhook edit fields dot item dot json dot chat ID. Edit fields dot chat underscore ID. Yep. I mean, it should be. Isn't it the one before it? Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. I mean, it did get that right there. Let's try it once more. So let's say, when was the company created? And just for the sake of this, let's just execute the workflow so we see it happening in real time. Okay, no issues now. Interesting. What's also interesting is that we got, oh yeah, 2 messages because yeah, we're executing twice, I guess, because we have the active workflow as well. If you need any assistance, I'll be able to help. Also, if you're interested, we can look into scheduling an appointment for a consultation or support session. Okay, cool. So let's say, let's execute this. Can I book a time tomorrow at 9 a.m.? Let's see what happens. So now I'm hoping that this, yeah, great, goes down the book a time route. Which also means that we can now build the second route. And let's make things a bit more organized first. So this is the, let's set a sticker. Let's call this storing data to Pinecone. And move this out of the way. Let's tidy the other stuff. And let's put the switch down here. So now let's do the cal.com stuff when it comes to booking a time. So let's grab an AI agent here. We'll define that below. We'll pass along the user message, which will be the same thing as what we have here. For the system message, let's just say you're a helpful assistant that helps users book a time. First, you need to check whether the time the user requested is available, and then, if it is, make the booking. If it is not, suggest alternative times on that same day. Okay, cool. Chat model, OpenAI. Let's connect it to the same memory. Simple memory right here. So now all these three agents are connected to the same memory, which is great. For tools, we just now need to give it the call.com information. So essentially I have the get a booking and the create a booking. That is what I'm primarily interested in. So for get a booking, or actually let's just go into call.com for a second. So here, if I go into call and I refresh, I should get a list of events that I have with the different times. If you go to settings and API keys, you can then set up your API key right here. And then obviously there's the API documentation. And what I'm interested in is the get a booking or get all bookings and create a booking. And that is what I have right here for the get a booking or get all bookings. There's the endpoint right there. I'm using this query parameter called status equals to upcoming because I don't want to get stuff from the past. I'm giving it my API key under the header name authorization. I need to use this call API version. This needs to be specifically like this, and that's pretty much it for getting the information. For creating a booking, I'm using the V2 bookings, same thing for headers, and then I'll need to pass along the information in the body. So the name of the attendee, their email, their time zone, the start, which is in, I believe it's called UTC. So in my case, I'm in GMT +2 here in Malta, which is +2. So this, if I want to book a time at 11 a.m., this needs to say 9 a.m. So instead of 21, I would put 09. So I'll need to see how the agent deals with this. I need to give it my username. I need to give it the event type slug. So in my case, this is called 90 minutes. So if we go back to call.com, specifically back to my dashboard right here, you will see that I have event types. I have the 90 minutes right here, which is this slug, and I have my username. So this is what I'm referencing right here in the body. I have a description of the event, and I'm also passing along some metadata. Cool. So this is all the information I'll need. So let's set up these two tools in our workflow. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste these right here. What we'll need to do though is just create these as two separate tools. So here I'm going to add an HTTP request. And I mean, thinking about it, if I wanted to, now I need to, yeah, they need to be part of an agent for the dynamic sort of situation. Yeah, let's do that. So let's start with get all bookings. So that's the endpoint. It's a get. I'm going to copy the query parameter. I'm going to copy the authorization, API version. That's pretty much it. So let's do HTTP. Let's call this get bookings. Let's put in the endpoint. Let's set the query parameter, which is status is upcoming. Add headers. So we had the authorization with the API key. We had the API version, which is that. And that should be pretty much it. Now, let's duplicate that and let's have this be create bookings. And here, I mean, this should be the endpoint. It's also a post now rather than a get. So it's still V2 booking, so that's fine. That's the same. Just remove the query parameter and put this in the body. So no query. Let's turn on the body. Let's put in JSON. Go to expression and let's see what we need to update right here, because some of the stuff we'll need to use the AI agent to define this. So first of all, John Doe will not be John Doe. It will be from AI. From AI, yeah. Name of attendee. So that's the first thing. Let's also change this to email of attendee. Let's change this to the start time in UTC format. This will leave as is, description. Yeah, this is the description of event. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So here we need to have at least these 4 items. So the agent needs to have access to the information. So here I'm just going to flip to expression. I'm just going to say, in order for you to book an event, you need to have access to the following information. So we have the start. Let's call it start time. We have attendee. Let me zoom in here. Attendee name. We have attendee email. And we have the, let's call it event description. Or yeah, event description. Let's delete the additional information here. And yep, let's delete that. If this information is not all available, reply with this information to the user requesting this additional information. Cool. So let's do that. Let's delete that. So what we need to do is, in this case, I'm going to give the agent another tool. So this is the booking agent. And here I'm also going to give it another tool, which is the ability to send messages back to user. And here I'm going to go back to this system message, and I'm going to say reply with this information to the user requesting this additional information. Use the tool send messages back to user for this. And just to be also clear, let's grab the names of these and define them here in the agent system prompt. First, you need to check whether time the user requested is available. Use the get bookings tool for this, and then if it is available, and then if the time end date is available, make the booking using the create bookings tool. If not, suggest alternative times on that same day, ensuring it doesn't overlap with anything else that's happening on the day. Another thing, keep in mind, the event is 90 minutes long. Cool, we'll test that out in a sec, and we just need to give the ability to send message back to the user. So essentially, we just need to copy this information. Yeah, pretty much what we had before. Form data, which is text, and then there's the user message. So here, let's just add that right here. So post, the endpoint is that. Flip to expression. Authentication, none. Authorization, which is called XAPI key in our case, which is that. Accept, I think it was application JSON. And then we have the form data, which was called text. And here this is from the AI. So let's say the message to send back to the user. Cool, let's test this out and see what happens. If I execute this and go back here and say, can I book a time tomorrow at 9 a.m.? Let's see what happens. So this is using the get bookings and send the message to the user. The requested time at 9 a.m. tomorrow is already booked for a 90-minute session. Available times are before 9, before 7:30, or after 10:30. So if I look at my calendar here, interesting. I'm curious why it decided that. So let's go back here. And let's see what happened here in the logs. Get bookings. You know what we didn't say, or what we didn't provide is today's date. So this is probably confused as hell. So let's just say this. Today's date is, and let's just pass the now variable. Save. Let's run this once more. Can I book a time tomorrow at 9 a.m.? Let's see. Excuse me. Is already booked. There's a Partially available before 7. Okay. Interesting. Let's go back to logs. Get bookings. So here we're seeing the start time. This is today. So there's one event which I deleted. Yeah. I mean, I deleted from my calendar, but for some reason it's still showing here. Tomorrow is Thursday. Okay, let me just delete the stuff from here. Cancel. Just to ensure we're not dealing with any overlaps. Cancel this. And let's cancel this. And sure, let's cancel this as well. And then we'll re-add some events and test it again. So now there's nothing literally happening there. So I just paste this in there, run the automation, and send that message. Let's see what we get. Okay. So this just used the get booking, but it didn't send a message to the user. The time is available for booking. To proceed, provide your name, email. Okay, cool. So we need to make it clear here that we don't just, I mean, any output should be directed towards the send message back to user. This information is available, private, okay. Your output should be directed towards the send message back to user tool, as this is how we will communicate with the user. Save, execute, try again. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we didn't manage to create a booking here. Bad request. And here it's saying, yeah, I need the following details. So let's say name is Alan Borch. Email is alan.borch@gmail.com. And the description is meeting for coffee. Whatever. Oh yeah, need to execute this. So paste. This is loading, which is generally code for good news. And here it's saying that it made the booking. Cool. Is that true? Let's see. We go back to Cal. Bookings, refresh. Awesome. So here we got a meeting between Kevin and Alan. Awesome. And do we get the description here? Not here. Pretty sure it shows maybe in the email that you get, if I'm not wrong. Let me just double check that. No, I don't see it in the description. Pretty sure there's a reschedule, edit, request. Anyway, small detail. We'll figure it out ASAP. If I go to event types here, pretty sure there's somewhere where we can set up like the information people have to fill in. So maybe that is not turned on. Okay, maybe it's not called description, I guess. What is this meeting about? Additional notes. Maybe it's not referencing that additional notes. I know. I mean, it's pretty much, yeah, we'll figure it out. Now, so we sent a message back to the user saying it was booked, and it was actually booked. So now if I say, okay, here it's mentioning the 7 UTC, which is, I mean, it's okay. The user doesn't really need to know. So let's just say that. Your output should be directed to that. If the booking is successful, just send a confirmation back to the user. You do not need to mention UTC time. Just mention the time the user has requested is now booked. This might be a bit weird, I guess. Also, tell the user to check their email for confirmation. So that's fine. Let's just execute this once more. And let's try again. Can I make a booking for tomorrow at 9 a.m.? Okay, what's happening? Okay, that guy took its time. The time is already booked. Choose a different time or day for your booking. Okay, that's going to be a bit more specific. So, you're a helpful assistant. You need to check. Use the get bookings. If the time is available, use that. Okay. So, let's just, structure this a bit better. First, you need to check whether the time the user requested is available. Use the get bookings tool for this. If the time is available, make the booking using create bookings. If the booking is successful, send the confirmation back to the user. Now, if it is not successful, let's structure this better. Not successful. Successful. Or rather, available, rather than. If it is not available, cool. If it is not available, suggest alternative times on the same day, ensuring it doesn't overlap with anything that's happening on the day. Okay, if this information replied to the user. Not available. Let's add this as before booking. In order for you to book an event, you need to have access to the following information. If this is not available, reply requesting additional information. Great. Rules plus key info. So here we have your output should be directed to this. Today's date is this. Anything else we want to include here? I don't think so. First, you need to check whether the time the user requested is available. What did we say before? Please choose a different time or I don't like this. Not available. Suggest alternative times, ensuring it doesn't overlap. Keep in mind the event is 90 minutes long. Do not say. Instead, offer 2 to 3 possible alternatives. I think that makes more sense. Okay, try again. Execute. Cool. 8 a.m., 10 a.m. Cool. The time we had was... that doesn't sound right though. Because our... Yeah, the issue is that I think we have 90 minutes. I think I set it to 90 minutes in terms of the events. Yeah. So if it's 90 minutes, then not really available, right? If we have a call booking at 9 to 10:30, we can't have it be offered, 10 to 11:30. So I'm curious, does this not factor in the end time if we use the get booking? Let me run this. So we get the booking. Yeah, gives us the start and the end time. So that needs to be factored in when using the get booking. So here under get booking, we get the start and end time. Yep. So the time suggested cannot be within those times. If not available, suggest alternative times on that same day, ensuring it doesn't overlap with anything else. Keep in mind it's 90 minutes long. For example, with that in mind, ensure that you don't suggest times where previous or following meetings would be in progress if the user were to book. Cool. I think that makes sense. And as you can see, it's an iterative process with that system prompt. Let's try again. And let's see what alternatives we get. All right, nice. So 8 to 9:30 But still, didn't we say 9 to 10:30? So how is it? Yeah. So I'm not being clear here. Could it be it's a time zone thing? Uh, Yeah, I think it's a time zone thing. So maybe it's not factoring in that. With that in mind, that sure don't suggest times where previous or following meetings will be in progress if the user worked the book. Rules and key information. The tools will return information in UTC time. However, we're dealing with GMT +2 time. This needs to be top of mind to ensure no overlap. It could be that though. Now thinking about it. Let's try again. Okay, executed successfully. How? Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Output was empty. Why? Weird. Execute. Let's try again. Okay. It was quite weird. 8:30. The time at 9 a.m., which is 7 to 8:30 UTC, is already booked. That's great. Yes, I agree. Here are some alternatives on the same day that are available. No, I mean, even if this is UTC, I mean, yeah, this whole time zone thing. 8:30 to 10:30. So if it's 7 to 8:30, 8:30. I mean, I guess it makes sense if this is being suggested in UTC then. So does this mean that if not available, suggest alternative times in GMT +2 on the same date? Rules. The suggested alternative times need to be in GMT +2. Save, execute. Let's try again. No. The time is 9. Tomorrow is already booked. But how is that? But as in... It doesn't make any sense at all. Let me just try use a more intelligent guy here. So instead of 4.1 mini, let's use 4.1. See if we get the same answer. Yeah, still not intelligent. So maybe I'm the problem. Here are some alternative times on the same day that are available. So let's say this is UTC, which is 7 a.m. All right, 7 a.m. to 8:30. It could be that the alternative times are being suggested in UTC, maybe. However, I'm saying the tools, the suggested alternative times need to be in GMT +2. Okay, let's give it an example. So let's go here. Let's go here and just type in examples. Let's type in good examples. Let's type in bad examples. I'm going to paste this under bad examples. I'm going to paste it under good. So here I'm going to say, here are some alternatives. So let's say to, I don't know, Um, hmm. 7. Actually, one other thing I want to do is have limits as well. So if the day starts at 8, yeah, maybe 7 doesn't make sense. So here it would be 9:30 to 11. Then it would be 11 to 12:30, and then 12:30 to 1400 or to 2 p.m. Bad examples. Let me give it another bad example. The time at, I don't know, 2:30 p.m. is already booked. Here are some alternatives. So let's say 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Then we have 2:30 to 4 is booked. So then we have 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Actually, that's a good example, it's not a bad example. So I'll just move this here. If it was another example of bad, it would be, I don't know, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. That would happen while this is still happening. Cool. Test, save, execute, go back here. Can I make a booking there? Paste. Jesus. Time at 9 is booked. Here are some alternatives. 8 to 9:30. Why? What is the logic behind that? How can we simplify this so it's not GMT and UTC and all that? For example, start at the manager don't. For example, the system will return all this in UTC. Execute. And probably there's an easier way of doing this that I'm not thinking of, but let's try again. Yeah, we're still getting the same thing. If, okay, let's ask the guy what he's doing. If the time tomorrow at 9 a.m. is taken, how are you suggesting 8 a.m. to 9:30? Explain your logic. Is taken for 1.5 hours. Interesting how it went up the customer support thing. I mean, that makes sense. It appeared there was inconsistency. Yeah. Tell me the available times. I'm assuming we'll still run into the same error. not available. Already booked 9:30 a.m. to 10. How come? Okay, this is a bit weird. 9 to 10:30. Okay, let me pause the video and figure out all this time stuff. So just for the sake of keeping everything without editing and all that, I went to Claude. I'm trying to fix this issue. So I said I have this prompt, and I gave it the whole system prompt. I said that I have the attached screenshot with the... Did I attach the screenshot? Yeah. With the appointment there. And I said, basically this time is not available because I have a booked call at 9 a.m. Then I also said the output from the get bookings tool is this guy, this code right here. And here this is saying that there's a miscommunication in my prompt essentially. So let's see this right here. So this is saying add the specific section to make the time zone conversion and overlap logic crystal clear. Can you give me the full system prompt I need to use to ensure that this works as expected? So let's do that and see whether this resolves the whole thing. Cool. So let's copy this, go back to NA10, paste this in here, and let's save and run. So we'll go back here and I say, can I make a booking tomorrow at 9? Fingers crossed. Nope. Time tomorrow is already booked. I think we're getting the same exact thing. Could it be that, I don't know, a memory issue? It's just referencing his previous memory. Let's just remove the memory here, just in case. Execute this. And let's say just that. Yep. 9. Yeah, as you can see, it was a memory issue, I think, because here the time tomorrow is booked. Here are some alternatives: 7:30 to 9, 10:30 to 12, 12:30 to 2. So yeah, I think it was just referencing all the previous conversation history right there. So let's say, okay, cool, book for the second option. Now the issue obviously is that it will not know what we are speaking about. If we were to execute this and say book for the second option, it will have no idea what this is all about, I think. So if we now provide our name, so Kevin at gmail.com, event description is meeting to catch up. I think it will, unless I'm wrong, not have any idea now. Yeah, let me know the date and time. Yeah, obviously it has no conversation history now because of what we had up top right here, which would be solved when we're having different conversations with different people. So just for the sake of this, let me just say, book me an appointment tomorrow, which has all the information essentially. Copy this. And let's say info, time, let's say 10:30 a.m. Need to execute that. Your appointment is now booked. Cool. Let's see if that is true. So I think there was no issue at all. It was referencing the previous conversation, the previous memory, and just was going all over itself. Yeah, 10:30 to 12. Kevin Farrow and Kevin. Great. So we got the information right there. Okay. Yeah. So this is working as expected. Reschedule, request, edit location. Yep. So this is working as expected. So now if we're to turn this on, we would be able to have a conversation where we ask information and get the information from Pinecone. and then obviously book the time as we just saw right here with this. So I'll tidy this up. I'm going to put this here. Let's say this is the WhatsApp part. And let's drag that over there. Awesome. So this was a bit of a long one with a few back and forth and roadblocks along the way, but I hope you found that valuable. It's interesting how the memory and I guess the ability to have that conversation also seems to have been the issue in actually getting the conversation, the booking, the meeting booked. So it's not something I've run into before, but it's also a learning experience as well. So hope you found this useful. If you did, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss future videos. And in the meantime, check out the video right here on the screen for you to keep learning about AI and automation. I'll speak to you soon.